Hello, I'm Jen. Welcome back to my channel. Today in this video, I will be recapping my experience of week 11 of The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. The first section in this chapter is called Acceptance, and what I feel that this section is about, it's about accepting who you are and who you are not as an artist. It's about accepting that with an artist's mindset comes a lot of inner criticism. It's about accepting the industry and the community that you're stepping into if you want to become a professional artist, depending on what your craft is. And ultimately, it's about accepting that being an artist is who you are. It's who you want to be. It is every part and every morsel of you. So you might as well just do it, even though it's going to be challenging, or maybe it's not going to be challenging, but whatever it is, you're just accepting that it's your true journey. Julia mentions the struggle that artists have when they enter an industry and suddenly their work is on the market. She says, "I have to free myself from determining my value and the value of my work by my work's market value." She tells the reader that money does not validate your art. Even if you create a piece of art and it sells for $10,000, it still doesn't validate your art. You must validate your art. You must believe in your art. And sometimes the market isn't there for what you're bringing to it. It doesn't mean that it's bad or that you aren't talented or unworthy of your art receiving credibility. It's just that the market isn't ready for it yet, or just the market isn't ready for anything. She also makes a callback to the section of fame from last chapter, where she talks about how fame is actually just a shortcut to validation, to self-validation that you really want desperately. In this chapter, she says, "As an artist, my self-respect comes from doing the work. One performance at a time, one gig at a time, one painting at a time, 2.5 years to make one 90-minute piece of film, 5 drafts of one play, 2 years working on a musical," and then she just keeps going on all these beautiful examples of how long people work on many, many different projects. The self-respect comes from knowing that you put in all of that effort by yourself, and all the times that your art wasn't represented, respected. It was you alone in your room at 3 a.m. or after finishing up a paper, and you come and you sit down and you're exhausted, but you're still going to put in the effort to do your keyboard lesson of the day. These are the things that will matter when your career isn't doing well, when maybe you really feel like your work has no value. You're going to look back on those moments where you showed up for yourself, and you're going to know that you are a valuable artist. The next section is called Success. Julia says, "Creativity is a spiritual practice. It is not something that can be perfected, finished, and set aside." Julia explains that there is no end. There is no North Star that you may feel once you reach it, that's when I've done it, that's when I've made it. No, she's telling the reader in this chapter that it just doesn't exist. She says, "In other words, just when we get there, to our North Star, there disappears. Dissatisfied with our accomplishments, however lofty, we are once again confronted with our creative self and its hungers." She also talks about how having triumphs in your career is not a linear path. She says, "We insist on a straight and narrow, when the artist's way is a spiral path. Invested in our outer trappings of career, we can place that investment above our inner guidance. Deciding to play by the numbers, we lose our commitment to counting ourselves and our goals worthy." All of the artists that I admire have reached their own individual success in their own individual, unique way. That gives me a lot of hope, and it also just helps me calm down a little bit, because I think I put a lot of pressure on myself to be a musical genius by now, and that's just not how my path is going, but we'll see where it goes. She says, "An artist cannot replicate a prior success indefinitely. Those who attempt to work too long with a formula, even their own formula, eventually leach themselves of their creative truths." You see, for example, Beyonce's plethora of albums, and you see how much she's changed throughout her career, and how with her new album, she's really on this journey of challenging the industries and challenging the genres that it feels like artists have to confine themselves to. She also warns that once you get to a place as an artist where your art is being commissioned, where you are having limits or expectations or boundaries put on you for a price, she explains that this can be very dangerous to your inner artist. As success comes to us, we must be vigilant. Any success postulated on a permanent artistic plateau dooms us, and it, too, to failure. This section about an artistic plateau reminded me of how Michelangelo must have felt when he was painting the Sistine Chapel. I just looked it up. He was painting it for 4 years. And I looked it up, was he happy about it? And he wrote this poem while he was painting the Sistine Chapel. I've already grown a goiter from this torture, hunched up here like a cat in Lombardy, my stomach squashed under my chin, my beard's pointing at heaven, my brain's crushed in a casket. I'll skip forward. He says, my painting is dead. I am not in the right place. I am not a painter. I mean, he had one of the best contracts of all time. Paint the Sistine Chapel. And he has lived on in fame and success, and he is one of the most, Michelangelo, one of the most famous and successful painters of all time. And yet he was miserable. You could hear it in that poem. Isn't that so interesting? Interesting. Us humans, we love to suffer. We love to create conflict. We love to be the victim. We love to suffer. We are meaning-making machines at the end of the day. So the next section is called The Zen of Sports. In this section, she talks about having a movement meditation practice that allows you to get out of your head and just into your body, because naturally when you're doing activities like running, walking, cycling, sometimes the answers to your problems can just fly into your head. When I feel that singing feeling with a man, and know that I have also felt it in a field of grass and a field of snow, then I know that it is really my own capacity to feel that I am celebrating. The feeling of joy, the feeling of celebration, of elation is always a possibility in your body. Always a possibility in your body. You do not need any stimulation to reach that. Isn't that crazy? It's crazy. You are the common denominator. You are 100% capable of reaching that amount of excitement all by yourself. Now I will talk about the tasks from this week. I'll talk about my favorite ones. One of the tasks was to list 70 wishes. So there were 7 categories. The categories are health, possessions, leisure, relationships, creativity, career, and spirituality. For each of these categories, you list 10 wishes. Some can be near wishes, some can be far wishes, some can be intergalactic, whatever you want to do. Writing all these wishes felt like a scripting activity, it felt like a manifestation activity. You could also take them and reword them to I am mantras if that's what you want to do. Loved this because it really made me challenge myself to think, let's see how big we can dream, and it was a really fun task. Writing down ways you can nurture yourself, and then also creating a schedule for this week of how you will nurture yourself each day. And that wraps up the tasks I did for the week. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate your time. I cannot believe that next week is the final week that I'm going to be filming an Artist Way recap. That is so beautiful, and I'm so glad I have these videos to look back on and to see what I got from them the first time around. But yes, again, I really appreciate you for watching, and I will see you later.